Hello, my name is William Edmonds, and I'm the news coordinator at OU Esports Co-Curricular and Innovation. Welcome to the OU Gaming Club's Game of the Year 2024 awards. It's becoming more difficult to pick my favorite game of the year when the options are more diverse than ever. 2024 has been a solid year for game releases, from remakes to sequels, as well as some shocking successes that took the game industry by storm. From Helldivers 2 to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, 2024 has given gamers plenty of new games to love. Like last year's Game of the Year 2023, I made a poll for the OU Gaming Club to fill out and determine the best games of the year in 15 categories. This year's poll brought more surprises than 2023 did. There's no Baldur's Gate 3 to sweep the awards this time, but there were plenty of other titles to show us why we love gaming. So, without further ado, here are the results of OU Gaming Club's Game Awards for 2024. Our first award is for Best Narrative. Our titles for Best Narrative are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Silent Hill 2, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Persona 3 Reload. So many modern games have deep, enriching stories, and the companies that make them take pride in deep, thematic narratives that draw players in. This year, old and new stories have resonated with audiences, from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's refreshed take on a classic, or Metaphor ReFantazio's original narrative created by Atlas. Silent Hill 2 is the one to take Best Narrative for 2024, though. Breathing new life into a beloved classic gives both series veterans and new players a chance to experience the eerie, thought-provoking story that has become so iconic. Our second award is for Best Soundtrack. The nominees for Best Soundtrack are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Astrobot, and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. No game is complete without a soundtrack to accompany it, no matter the scope or size. The soundtrack is one of my favorite aspects of a video game, and the right one can make me obsessed. Astrobot was a surprise standout for me this year, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth brought a sweeping orchestral sound to what was once limited to PS1 hardware. The winner of Best Soundtrack, however, is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. The base game has one of From Software's most iconic soundtracks, but Shadow of the Erdtree kicked things up a notch. Some of my favorite boss themes of all time came from this incredible DLC, and a large portion of the OU Gaming Club agrees. Our next award goes to Best Art Direction. The nominees for Best Art Direction are Astrobot, Silent Hill 2, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and Dragon Age the Veilguard. 2024 has had some of the most varied art direction I've seen in a video game in a while. Hyper-realistic graphics don't make a game, and often the games that take a bold and unique art style become far more memorable in the long run. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero brought the iconic look of the late Akira Toriyama style to gaming, while Silent Hill 2's murky atmosphere permeates the fabric of our reality. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero's bold colors and gorgeous key blast effects helped it win Best Art Direction. It's one of the most gorgeous games I've played in recent memory, and I think it does Toriyama's iconic style justice. I don't know if a future Dragon Ball game could beat the beauty of Sparking Zero, but the creativity of artists in gaming is limitless. Our next category is for the best performance by a voice actor. Our nominees are John Eric Bentley as Barrett Wallace, Brianna White as Aerith Gainsborough, Gianna Keel as Angela Orozco, and Gareth David Lloyd as Solus. Voice actors can make or break characters. The right skill can make even the most bland dialogue stand out, and particularly charged performances by the people who help bring characters to life can put actors from other mediums to shame. This category is particularly close and actually ended with a tie between Gareth David Lloyd as Solus from Dragon Age the Veilguard and John Eric Bentley as Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Solus is one of the Dragon Age's franchise's most iconic characters, and David Lloyd brings a weathered but determined god to life with shockingly human qualities. John Eric Bentley's performance as Barrett Wallace reconciles the hard exterior of a father ravaged by war with a tender and sensitive man who cares deeply for his found family. No matter the type of character, a good performance can make anybody fall in love. Our next award is for the Best Indie Game of 2024. Our nominees for the Best Indie Game are Balatro, Pacific Drive, Still Wakes the Deep, The Plucky Squire, and Crow Country. In a market increasingly dominated by AAA games looking to be the most expensive and most pretty, indie game studios have been pushing the boundaries of gaming. Whether you're looking for a spooky driving survival game in Pacific Drive, or you want a roguelike poker experience with Balatro, you can find nearly anything you can imagine with indie. And this year, Balatro takes the title of Best Indie Game by a huge margin. The combination of simple rules and a near infinite way to customize a run makes for an addictive game experience, the likes of which I haven't seen before. Our next category is the Best Action Game of 2024. Our nominees for the Best Action Game are Helldivers 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Black Myth Wukong, Star Wars Outlaws, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. While indie games have a diverse set of genres and gameplay types for nearly anybody, sometimes you just want to get your adrenaline pumping with an action game that puts you in the seat of a gun-wielding powerhouse. This year, we've had plenty of action games from many different IPs and franchises, new and old. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 took the gaming community by storm with its short but excellent campaign and gritty grimdark universe. Black Myth Wukong is a surprise newcomer that pushes you to the limit when fighting bosses as the legendary Sun Wukong. One game has stood above the rest this year, though. Helldivers 2 won the title for Best Action Game with its creative gameplay, solid gunplay, and evolving universe that reacts to its community's successes and failures. Our next award is for the Best RPG of 2024. The nominees for Best RPG are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Dragon Age the Veilguard, Persona 3 Reload, Metaphor Refantasio, and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. RPGs are my favorite gaming genre, and there are almost too many releases this year, filled with enough content for literal days of gameplay. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is my favorite, boasting a nearly 100-hour-long campaign and a rich world that has been lovingly recrafted from the original PS1 release. I can't have everything I like win the awards, though. Persona 3 Reload's reimagined world, tight turn-based mechanics, and enriching story helped it take Best RPG by a huge margin. Atlus continues to prove that it knows exactly how to make a good RPG. Our next category is the Best Fighting Game of 2024. Our nominees for Best Fighting Game are Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Tekken 8, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, Arcade Classics, and Under Night in Birth 2. I'm not usually a fighting game guy, but this year's selections included a lot of solid titles, both new and reimagined. The Tekken franchise released its 8th title to critical acclaim within the fighting game community, but it's not the only beloved franchise that's made a return. The Budokai Tenkaichi series of Dragon Ball Arena Fighters has returned after 17 long years in the form of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Dragon Ball is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and I'm happy to say that it won the title Best Fighting Game by a landslide. The return of a fighting giant has resonated with thousands of people and thrust Dragon Ball into the mainstream once again. Our next award is for Best Horror Game of 2024. Our options for Best Horror Game are Silent Hill 2, Pacific Drive, Crow Country, and Emio, The Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club. You can't go wrong with a good scare. Best Horror Game is a title new to this year's OU Esports Game Awards, but I felt it was a necessary addition due to the amount of solid new titles released in 2024. From surprise revivals like Emio the Smiling Man to new indie contenders such as Pacific Drive, there have been plenty for horror buffs to check out this year. Silent Hill 2's revamped graphics and classic story brought a new generation, and it takes Best Horror Game. Despite initial doubts about how this game might be received, it's become one of the most solid remakes out there. Our next category is the Best Sports/Racing Games of 2024. Our nominees for Best Sports and Racing are College Football 25, Madden 25, F1 24, and NBA 2K25. I'm not the most familiar with sports games, but the genre's place in the gaming industry is massive and undeniable. Every year, franchises like Madden and NBA bring new titles with revamped team rosters for sports fans to pit against each other, but something changed this year. For the first time in 11 years, the NCAA college football gaming franchise has returned in the form of College Football 25. I never thought the day would come, but despite everything, it's back for a new generation of gamers to enjoy. The return of such a beloved franchise blew every other title in this race out of the water. College Football 25 takes the Best Sports/Racing Game award by a landslide. The next category we have is Best Family Game of 2024. Our options for Best Family Game are Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Paper Mario, The Thousand-Year Door, and Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. Time and time again, the best family games of the year are dominated by Nintendo titles. It's nearly impossible not to own a Nintendo Switch at this point, and even with its successor coming soon, Nintendo continues to release new titles. Astrobot's adorable style and simple but effective gameplay made it a surprise contender for Best Family Game. Princess Peach Showtime and Legend of Zelda, Echoes of the Wisdom put the player in the princess's shoes to save the day. Despite the close results, though, Paper Mario The Thousand-Year Door wins Best Family Game. 2024 certainly seems to be the year for remakes, but I can't say I'm surprised with so many classic titles making a comeback, this one being a particularly beloved one. Another new category in OU Esports' Game of the Year awards is the Best DLC, and there have been too many excellent contenders for this category for me not to make one. I'm a sucker for expansions that bring me more content to the video games I already love. Destiny 2: The Final Shape brought a sweeping conclusion to a saga 10 years in the making, along with one of the best narratives the franchise has seen. Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, meanwhile, continues to expand an already massive MMORPG. but I'm just avoiding the elephant in the room. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree won Best DLC with nearly 80% of the votes. This expansion brought enough content that it could have been a separate game to From Software's magnum opus. Its dark atmosphere oozes through the screen, and some of the best boss fights in the Souls franchise can even be found within. I couldn't think of a better winner for the best DLC of 2024. It's finally time to get to what everybody's been waiting for. So many incredible games have been released this year, but only a few can make it onto this list to find our best of 2024. This year's list is incredibly diverse, with contenders across many genres. Astrobot was a surprise hit that brought the charm and memory of old 3D platforms harkening back to the PlayStation 2 days. This game is an earnest celebration of all things gaming. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero breathed new life into the Budokai Tenkaichi franchise with a gorgeous art style and crisp, addictive fighting mechanics. Silent Hill 2 brought a cult classic back to life and introduced a new generation to the horrors hidden within the eerie town of Silent Hill, Maine. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth continued the remake project of the original PS1 classic and brought a deeper combat system with revamped visuals and a beautiful soundtrack. Only one game can be crowned, though. Helldivers 2 takes the title of OU Esports' Game of the Year for 2024. This game brought its community together on the galactic quest to rid the galaxy of the tyranny of the cyborgs and the bugs. This game's incredible combat and community-based objectives makes it an excellent choice for Game of the Year. Our second to last category is for Media and News' Choice. Our options for Media and News' Choice are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Annie of the Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club, and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. As I did last year, I asked the Media and News team here at OU Esports to tell me their personal Game of the Year to put into a separate category to determine which of ours was the most beloved. All these games have been featured previously in the poll, but it was interesting to see how these titles stack up against each other. And Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree took Media News' Choice for this year. With the DLC's staggering scope and popularity within one of the most successful games of the 2020s, I'm not really surprised about this victory. There's nothing quite like a challenging but rewarding From Software experience. I was banking on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to win, but my favorites can't all be winners. Our final award is for the most anticipated game of 2025. The nominees for most anticipated game are Civilization VII, Monster Hunter Wilds, Grand Theft Auto 6, Ghost of Yotei, and Pokemon Legends ZA. 2024 has been a great year for gaming, but 2025 is shaping up to be just as good, if not better. Many franchises have announced new titles coming next year, but one gaming giant on this list stands out far from the rest. Grand Theft Auto 6 wins OU Esports' most anticipated game of 2025. The latest title in the critically acclaimed and massively popular Grand Theft Auto franchise is slated to release sometime next year, and it'll be sure to take the gaming community by storm. That has been OU Esports' Game of the Year awards for 2024. I couldn't have done this without the help of my fellow media coordinator, Kaori Thomas, and one of our members in the media and news pillar, Emiliano Cardenas Ramos. This has quickly turned into a passion project that I've enjoyed making every year, and without their help, none of this would have been possible. I'm so thankful for the community that we have here, both in the gaming club and in OU Esports co-curricular and innovation. Without the community support, I wouldn't be able to do anything like this. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everybody who participated in the poll and made this project a reality. This year's Game of the Year award shows that no matter where you look, anyone can find a favorite game in any genre, system, or format. Because gaming is for everybody. Period.